you may find something that you need to click to consent, I guess, to the recording. And let's just start with introductions, and I'll just call on you as I see you on my screen. Mel, you're up first.
Okay, Mel Renner. I am longtime HOA president of the Forest Pond community and a relatively new board member with the Derita Statesville Community Organization.
All right, Sylvia, you're up next.
Sylvia Cannon, president of Derita Statesville Road Community Group, also president of Allen Hills. And y'all should feel honored. I brought Miss Denise to the beach. I'm at the beach trying to see what's going on.
Oh, thank you. That's great. I'm glad you joined us. Okay, Nadine, you're next. You're muted.
Sorry about that. Hi, my name is Nadine Henry. I'm in the Sugar Springs neighborhood. And I am proud to say that I've just started working and created a brand new 501c, caring for our neighbors. And we are helping to feed the homeless downtown Charlotte.
Okay, good news. Thank you. Donna Huntley.
Hi, Teresa, can you hear me?
Yes.
This is Shirley Clark in the Greenleaf Village community.
Okay.
I've had some stuff going on with my Zoom, substituting for other teachers, and now I can't get my stuff back right. But anyway, Shirley Clark in the Greenleaf Village community.
Thank you. Good to see
President of the
you.
association. I'm trying to change the name, but I can't even get that done.
That's all right. Okay, let me see. We've had a few people join. Marion McMahon. You're muted.
Sorry, rough morning. Hope everyone's doing well. Marion McMahon, member of the Michael's Landing HOA. Happy to be here as always.
All right. And let's see, Carrie Miller.
Hi, good morning. Carrie Miller here from Avalon Sugar Creek HOA. Happy to be here.
All right, Jack is having technical problems. Let me see what message I have in chat. Okay, yeah, that's from Jack. So we'll go to Jamie and Michael from Toll Brothers, and you can go into your presentation. Welcome.
Okay, well, great. Well, thank you, Teresa, and appreciate the opportunity to join your meeting here and spend a little bit of time introducing Toll Brothers and our latest project, which we'll talk about here, Griffith Lakes. And on the line, just real quick on my background, my name is Jamie Poe, and I'm the division president for Toll Brothers in the Charlotte market. I'm responsible for all of our operations and all of our new communities in the marketplace. On the line as well, we have Mike Wynn. And Mike, go ahead and introduce yourself. Mike, you're on mute.
Yeah, my name is Mike Wynn, and I'm the Director of Community Planning. Jamie and I have been working together for about 4 years now, and I've been with Toll for 6. My role in all of this is putting together our marketing plan and our architecturals and everything. Our land development is done by a different part of our company. They hand that off to me, and then in collaboration with Jamie and some of our sales and marketing people, we'll have a finished community out in front.
Well, great. Well, we have up on the screen here, hopefully everybody can see our screen. I have a few slides that I wanted to walk through to just give you a little bit of a deeper introduction into Toll Brothers, and then I'll shift gears to provide you some imagery on the Griffith Lakes project and some of what we're working on for that community, which is just recently started the development, the clearing and development of the site. So there's definitely been some visibility now off of W.T. Harris, and really an opportunity for us to share some of that here with you. We have not done a whole lot of marketing yet on the community, just given the amount of time that it takes to develop the site and really prepare it to the point where we actually can start constructing homes on the project. But now that we're starting to see some visible development from the street, wanted to start providing some updates to the community so that you know what to expect as you're driving through there. We'll start putting some more signage up, and hopefully over the next 2 to 3 months, we'll be doing a little bit more public press and articles in the newspaper and those types of things to sort of showcase what'll be coming soon to the corridor there along W.T. Harris and Old Statesville Road. So, you know, with my conversations with Jack Brush over the last couple of months, you know, he's taken a very deep interest and has followed the zoning and development of planning for the W.T. Harris corridor over the years, as well as Griffith Lakes, and really gave us this opportunity to provide the preview here today. So let me just sort of jump into real quick a little bit about you know, about Toll Brothers. Toll Brothers, let me just shift to the next slide here. So Toll Brothers is one of the larger public home builders in the country across the United States. We operate across 24 different states and 50 different markets throughout the country. The company was started in the late 1960s, 1967, by two brothers in the Philadelphia market, and has since expanded over that time frame, really to both coasts and up and down the Southeast corridor and into Texas as well. So quite a bit of breadth and exposure across the nation by Toll Brothers. We've been in the Charlotte market now for over 20 years. You may recognize the name Toll Brothers through your time in the Charlotte area, but just to give you a little bit of a point of reference as to where the company has been operating over the years, it's been predominantly in what we've termed the southern cone of Charlotte, from the uptown market all the way down towards Ballantyne, the Marvin submarkets, and Weddington, which is really what historically has been the upper end luxury market for Charlotte over the years, and an area where Toll Brothers as a company has always been very, very strong in terms of that luxury home market. But what I wanted to just sort of show you in this map, if you're not familiar with the company, is just how many communities we've been involved in over the years, over the last 20 years. And what you see in green, the green dots, reflect the communities that we currently have open or under development today. So you'll see we're starting to expand our focus around Charlotte towards the southwestern corridor, and then working our way up along I-77 and I-85, where we're working to expand our company and our housing products to the northern side of town, which leads us to Griffith Lakes, which is on the top side of the map here, which is our furthest north project in the Charlotte metro area in the history of our company. So we're really excited about this opportunity to bring our homes and really develop a very nice residential community inside of 485 along that I-77 corridor, and in between all the activity that's going on in the North Lake Mall area, and then going across to University City, University Research Park area, there's just such an abundance of opportunity and housing needs really for the working market, as well as for the younger millennials and retirees as well. So we think there's a really nice opportunity here for us to bring a more of a higher quality housing experience into this pocket of town that hasn't historically had a lot of larger scale residential projects. And then over time, as a company, we want to work our way even further north towards Huntersville and Mooresville, et cetera, and continue to expand our exposure here in the market. And just interestingly enough, we've also just recently started a project just south of Uptown along South Tryon in an area called South End, which I'm sure you're familiar with. And we're doing a townhome project there that we just started construction on in the last couple of weeks, and sales as well. And it's all in the spirit of really trying to broaden the types of communities that we do in the marketplace as well, and all of our price points in the marketplace. And so I'll just leave you with one additional page that sort of covers the breadth of everything that we do as a company. Because we're in all types of residential housing across the nation. And I'll just looking at the top here, from what we call our first time buyer homes, which would be your more entry level homes, to what we call an affordable luxury experience, which is a home that is a very nice home that has a high touch experience with the home builder, but at a price that is more affordable than our upper end luxury homes. We also focus on having customers for life. So we like to bring customers in when they're buying their first home, and then hopefully as they continue to move to larger homes, perhaps over time, or to different markets, that they're following our company, and we can provide them housing in other elements of their needs as they move through their life experiences. We're also very focused on two segments, the empty nester and what we call the active adult. And really those are geared towards folks that are, over 55 years old, that maybe don't have children living at home anymore, that are looking to downsize to smaller homes, but still want to be active in their communities and live in their local market, have different types of activities. And so we have what we call the Regency brand, which is communities that are geared towards 55 plus. They have different types of amenities, clubhouse, pool, activities directors with different activities and things of that nature, geared towards the interest level of that profile of home buyer. And we do a lot of urban infill projects throughout the nation. We do high-rise condos. We do apartment communities. We do student housing rentals. And recently we've also been focused on single family rentals as well throughout the nation, which is a big growth segment of housing needs across the nation. We don't do many of these across Charlotte. And really my job has been to look for opportunities where we can do different types of projects in Charlotte versus just being focused on just that luxury marketplace. And so that's what we've been working on over the last 4 years, and really how this project with Griffith, EC Griffith Company and Griffith Lakes has come to life. So let me turn to that, which is the focus of our conversation here today. And I would presume that most of you on this call are familiar with this land and this location, but I just wanted to position everyone and let you know exactly what we're talking about here. So this is an aerial shot of the intersection of W.T. Harris Boulevard, where it intersects with Old Statesville Road. And if you look at that on the map, and we've just kind of drawn out the property line here, but it's 400 acres of contiguous land. which has been owned by the E.C. Griffith Company in Charlotte for well over 70 years. They've owned this land since the 1950s, I believe. And interestingly enough, this land was a land trade that they did about 70 years ago for 2.5 acres of land in Eastover that they owned. So they swapped 2.5 acres in Eastover for all of this land, which at the time in the 1950s was considered pretty far out of downtown or uptown Charlotte. And the E.C. Griffith family, the history behind them is when they started their company in the early 1900s, they owned a lot of land around some of the most prominent communities in Charlotte today. But the biggest one that they developed was the Eastover neighborhood. So a long history of ownership and development of land around the Charlotte market, and they've held this land within their company for a long period of time, really expecting to ultimately have it developed in a very, very high quality execution, which is really what led to our interest and ultimately our partnership to put together a really, really nice project for this area that'll hopefully help stimulate additional activity along the W.T. Harris corridor. A little bit of history on this land. So along the western property line, and you can't see it very closely here, but it is the corridor where the Norfolk Southern rail tracks go, and you can see them a little bit up here on the map. So this land was has always been planned to be part of development along what will hopefully be the future Red Line commuter rail corridor. And back in 2005, when those discussions and planning were underway, this land was rezoned and entitled for substantial residential and commercial development along this future Red Line, including having space allocated for a train station stop on this land as well. So that is all still in the plans, and as the Red Line continues to materialize and hopefully will eventually come to fruition, this opportunity will continue to present itself for additional commercial development. Now, we Toll Brothers are working with E.C. Griffith. We're going to be acquiring and developing 300 acres of this land, which is, you'll see here on the map, you can roughly see there's a power line corridor that sort of goes north to south along the edge here. So consider that a property line for our purposes here. Everything to the right of that is roughly 300 acres, and everything to the left is roughly about 100 acres, plus some additional commercial land here at the front. So they're going to retain that for future development, and we're going to be developing out the residential component. So I'll turn to the next slide, which gives you a visual of what that looks like. So this is the actual site plan that we're working on as we speak today. This is effectively all part of the original entitlements on this land, and effectively very similar to what was originally planned back in 2007, given the way that the land lays out. What you see in terms of topography is there's a very, very large and very beautiful lake right in the middle of the project, and then it has two additional ponds on the outer edges as well. Now, we're going to be coming in off of W.T. Harris, and if you drive that today, you'll start seeing a clearing right along this edge here where the boulevard, which we'll be building, is starting to get cut in as we speak. So we're going to be constructing this main boulevard through here, a parkway, I should say, that goes about 1.5 miles through the site, and ultimately will end up on Pete Brown Road, which is on the bottom part of the overall project. That'll ultimately be a public road once it's completed, and will add to additional connectivity both off of W.T. Harris and off of the Pete Brown side for all of the residential community south of that. All of that will connect through and be public road as well. The other benefit to this project and the surrounding communities is going to be the additional connectivity. So you'll see here a couple of roads, one here to the east and then another one sort of towards the middle of the parcel that ultimately will connect with the southern neighborhoods that are currently established there today. And I believe that's going to be a community benefit. I've driven through these communities multiple times, and the only way that these communities have the ability to get back to W.T. Harris today is to circle south over to Sugar Creek and then work their way back north to W.T. Harris. So there'll be a really nice opportunity here in terms of connectivity to bring that traffic forward onto the new parkway and then ultimately onto W.T. Harris. Now, a little bit about the overall project. So what you see here on the page is essentially 740 homes. We were going to be designing this into different phases, and you'll see the phase layout here on the page. So as we build the spine road to the south, we'll be bringing online the various residential projects on both sides of that parkway, and then ultimately when we get to the end of the parkway, we'll be opening up the southern side of the site. All of that will take many years. I think we have 6 to 7 years roughly in our expected development plan to work our way through the community. But we've started construction on the first phase, and the first phase will essentially work its way to about this point here, about halfway down, and we'll open up what we call phase 1A and phase 1B. The project is 740 homes, as I said, but it'll be divided into 2 different types of homes. So on the front part of the community, what you see up here, if you can see my icon, this is going to be a townhome project. We have about 180 townhomes that will be here, and those are going to be predominantly focused on targeting the younger, what we so-called the millennial demographic, and probably, your working singles, et cetera, that want to live in the area, work in the area, et cetera, or just aren't desiring to be in a single family home. That has been a very popular type of housing along Davis Lake to the north of us as well, and we're going to continue that on to the south. Our price points here will probably start in the high 200s and migrate into the low 300s by the time we start construction on those townhomes. And then as you continue on through the community, it's going to transition to what we call an active adult community. So we're going to be predominantly focused on serving that 55 plus marketplace. Our housing is going to be all single story ranch plans. So those are basically 1-story homes. Some of them will have the option for a 2nd story loft for those that desire a little bit larger home. But the base house is going to be a ranch style home. And the community, while it won't be restricted to 55 plus, the type of housing and the amenities that we will create in the community will really cater to that individual that's a working individual, but perhaps moving towards retirement, planning on retiring in 5 to 10 years, but really wanting to be in that urban infill environment. And we think there's a wonderful opportunity for that here in this area. So as we push through the community and develop out, we'll get to the middle of the community, and you'll see here that is where we plan to have an amenity for the community. That will be a clubhouse and a pool tennis courts, pickleball courts, those types of things. And it'll be positioned along the lake to really take advantage of the beauty, the natural beauty of the land and that lake as well, which is a wonderful asset to this this community as well, and the surrounding area. And then we'll continue on, as I said, to the south. With that, let me just turn to the next slide, which I've covered a little bit of it, but I wanted to just sort of highlight in words how we think about this project in terms of the overall vision. And really, this is really taking back from the history of the rezoning and some of the statements that the E.C. Griffith Company made at that point in time in terms of how they envisioned this community coming to life. And we're really taking that to heart. And I really love the statement that Mr. Jim Griffith stated to the city council back then. I got the opportunity to listen to his speech, and he coined it as where the vision for the community is where nature watchers meet people watchers. Really an opportunity to take advantage of the surrounding land, the beauty of the border along the lake, and really bring that low scale decompression type of environment to a very urban infill location, which you don't see very much of today. So really a really nice opportunity for that. And you'll see in the imagery here to the right, this is a picture of the lake as it stands today. And you'll see how heavily wooded it is around the lake. All of that is going to stay in place. There's a 100-foot buffer along the lake that is a required buffer. And we think that's a wonderful really opportunity to maintain the pristine nature of what is there today. Looking further at a few other comments, we want to integrate the community into and around all of the natural elements of the land and the environment. So we've taken a lot of time to really work that into our master plan. Provide areas for exploration and walkability. We'll have trails throughout the community. All of those will be predominantly for residents of the community, but along the parkway, which will be named Griffith Lakes Parkway, one of the requirements in our plan is to put in multi-use pedestrian paths. So both sides of the boulevard for the full 1.5 miles will be lined with a 10-foot wide concrete multi-use pedestrian path that will allow for cycling and walking as well throughout the area, and that'll go the entire run of the parkway. We'll be putting in trails around the lake, some pocket parks, and really trying to allow the community to enjoy those features. As I mentioned, our focus is really to two segments of the market. That urban focused 55 plus active adult buyer will be predominant focus for the single family homes. And then for the denser townhomes, we expect that that'll be the younger millennial demographic, but probably be pretty expansive, I would say, from that late 20s to probably mid 40s type of buyer for townhomes. That really is just a working individual in that part of town that really appreciates the location and the urban nature of it. The next slide shows you a little bit of imagery along W.T. Harris. So one of the really interesting parts of this, as I drive W.T. Harris many times as we were thinking about this planning, is there really isn't a whole lot of interesting architecture or even signage or arrival along W.T. Harris from Old Statesville Road on through Sugar Creek. It really you don't see a whole lot there. Even if there's commercial activity, there's very little signage and visibility. So we have an opportunity here to really make improve the corridor and really make a statement of something really interesting What you see here is a rendition of what our signage is going to be along the front of W.T. Harris as well. And that just gives you a little perspective of where we're headed. I want to go back to one thing that I sort of left out here, but I think is an interesting and an important point from a community perspective. So we're going to be focused on building this community and adding 740 homes. But what I neglected and really important part is that there's additional land here along W.T. Harris. There's a future commercial site, which the E.C. Griffith Company will be retaining. And they are in planning and expecting to ultimately bring a grocery anchored residential project here to this area. And so we're really excited about those prospects as well. And with the combination of the quality housing that we'll be putting here, we think there's a really strong opportunity to bring some nice quality retailers and hopefully a nice supermarket anchor to this area. Recall right across the street, you have a Harris Teeter anchored shopping center on the Davis Lakes side as well. So that's a nice existing commercial project, and hopefully on this side of the street, they'll be successful putting another project over here. And then, as I said, this section over here off to the west will continue to be part of E.C. Griffith's holdings, and they will be planning additional commercial and residential over the coming years, I would imagine, particularly as that as that red line becomes more and more certain. And then lastly, before we sort of jump to questions, I did want to show one other interesting piece of information, which I'm sure is important for the community, is understanding what types of changes are forthcoming here along W.T. Harris. So as part of the original rezoning and as part of the approvals process, there are improvements that NCDOT is requiring along the W.T. Harris thoroughfare, and that is a pretty substantial crosstown connector road thoroughfare. It's a very high volume and relatively high speed as well. And so this particular intersection today is really just a three-way intersection. As we move forward with the project, this intersection is being redesigned, and as part of that redesign, the requirement is that both sides of the street, whether you're going westbound or whether you're going eastbound, are going to be required to be right turn in and right turn out only on both sides of the street. And along with that, the requirement, which we'll be building, is to put in two what's called reduced conflict intersections. So the, I guess layman's term would be a U-turn, the U-turn bulbs. Both of those intersections will be lighted as well. So you'll see the star there that signifies a proposed signal. And so if you're coming from the new the new Griffith Lakes Parkway, and you're turning onto W.T. Harris, you're going eastbound, you'll be making a right turn to head eastbound. If you are choosing to go westbound, you will be making a right turn lane and hopping onto the U-turn bulb and making a U-turn here to go in the opposite direction. That is the way that transit will flow from both sides. Coming from Davis Lakes Parkway, you would make a right turn, and if you want to go east, you would turn at this U-turn bulb and go in the opposite direction. If you're making a left turn on both sides into the parkways on both sides, you will have a separate lane that is a lighted intersection as well. So if you're coming eastbound and you want to make a left into Davis Lakes Parkway, you will be on the left-bound lane. There will be a signal here, and then you will cross across Davis Lakes Parkway. So that's a little bit of a redesign to the way this particular intersection works today. And we expect to be constructing that over the next 6 months, and with a target of completing that by the end of this fiscal year, so by the end of December. And that activity will be forthcoming here over the next 30 to 60 days along W.T. Harris corridor. So with that, I think I've covered most of my key points here to highlight. I would be more than glad to just open it up for questions at this point. And both Mike and I are on the call here. We could probably address any questions that you may have.
I have a question from Marion. Is there going to be a pedestrian crossing at Davis Lake intersection? I suppose if anybody wanted to walk across Harris Boulevard.
Yeah, that's a good question, and I neglected to say that. So you'll see that here. There is going to be a pedestrian crossing, and it will be a signalized pedestrian crossing. You can kind of see the markings on the street. So you'll go across to the median, and then you will cross to the other side of the street. It'll be, the traditional ones where you press the button.
Are the turnarounds sufficient for a trucker to make a U-turn? I noticed you got what appears to be roughly 85, 90 feet.
Yeah, no, that's a good question, Jack. And yes, that the answer is correct. Is yes. You can see those bulbs have the turn length, and those parameters, as driven by NCDOT, require you to be able to have a traditional semi truck to be able to go around those.
You have both to the east and west of Griffith Lakes Road coming into W.T. Harris. You've got a 100-foot taper on the west side, and then you have a 475 storage. I'm not familiar with that term relative to roads. What is that referring to? On the west side, you got 475 storage, and on the east side, you got 230 storage.
Yeah, so those are requirements. So storage means the ability to build up cars and traffic, that are waiting in line for the traffic signal. Those lengths, and I'm not a traffic expert, but our engineers worked very closely with NCDOT as this was designed, are all based on traffic counts in the area and the various algorithms that the traffic engineers utilize to ensure that there's enough length of traffic storage there so that you're not creating any backups at each of those intersections.
I had a question about the connections to the existing neighborhoods. I could not read the street names, and it looked like there were going to be 3 of them.
Yeah, there are actually 2 of them. And let me see if I can read it. Is it melding? I believe it's, let me see if I can blow that up here.
Okay.
Munsing, I think it's called
Munsing, yes. Munsing is a street over there.
And I believe the other one is Eden Drive.
Okay.
And then at the end of the project, you do have one at Pete Brown.
Correct. And then at the end of the project, we have not only one at the end of Pete Brown, but we also have the requirement to extend and improve Pete Brown all the way to the end of the project. That is a longer term plan on behalf of City of Charlotte to create another connector, if you will, beyond this property all the way to Sugar Creek.
And it also looks like Fox Point and whatever that tarp.
Yeah, the 2 communities. The community to the south has a couple of roads that actually, I believe I think the first one already ties into Pete Brown. Pete Brown's not a very improved road today, but it will be once we get to that point. And then Fox Point Drive, if it doesn't connect today, it will connect for the future connecting point. And I believe there's actually one more, Jack, further down this Pangle Mount Drive, I believe also will connect in there.
Well, my compliments on that connectivity extension. I think that's going to be a nice benefit to those southern communities.
Yeah, we agree. And one of the sort of the anecdotes that I hear from those that work on the retail side of the projects, we're mainly residential experts here, but the EC Griffith company, as they continue to work with different retail, particularly grocers, is connectivity and ability to have potential customers arrive at your commercial center is very important. So, that is one of the selling points to really bring this commercial site to life. Ultimately, is not just the number of residents we can put into our community, but how many in the surrounding areas will also have the opportunity to arrive at that commercial site in an efficient manner.
Anybody else got questions? I don't see anything in chat.
Do you intend on having any more or perhaps live as opposed to virtual community meetings? I know you mentioned talking to Darlene.
Yeah, so I don't have any community meetings scheduled. This is actually our first one, but we are going to spend more time with surrounding organizations and probably put a little bit more press out in the marketplace over the coming months. We've been very focused on just putting ourselves in the position to be able to start construction, and which has been very time consuming. We've been working on this project since early 2018 with the E.G. Griffith family, and just working with NCDOT on gaining approvals to be able to start the parkway, et cetera, has been our primary focus. So now we're shifting gears more towards the marketing of the community, and so we'll spend more time on that over the next 3 to 4 months. And just to give you a little bit of a time frame, the development of that first phase will take more than likely about 11 more months. So we don't anticipate being in a position where we can actually start construction of any homes until early next summer. So probably around that June timeframe, depending on how the development goes. And a lot of that is dictated by weather as well. So hopefully the weather patterns are favorable, and we can continue to stay on schedule. And at that point, we would start home construction, early part of the summer next year.
The ever-present North Carolina weather disclaimer.
We would like to move as fast as possible, as always, but yeah.
Yeah, but nature sometimes has a quandary with that. We do have a question from Marion regarding the use of Griffith Lake. Is that going to be recreational, or is it going to be purely aesthetic?
Yeah, it's going to be mostly aesthetic, although we are going to program a couple of docks on both sides of the lake that will allow for some light usage. So we could envision the ability to do canoeing and kayaking, on the lake, certainly fishing, nature trails around it, etc.
I think that'd be good too. I know I would suspect it'd be a question for the HOA, but stocking the lake could be a nice feature that would draw people to the community as well, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think we would definitely look at that as a program. I believe the Griffith, EC Griffith company has historically stocked the lake as well, and it's actually been a fishing hole, if you will, for many decades. So we would like to continue that as well.
If they have been stocking it, I'm going to be really disappointed because I got zilched when I tried to fish there. But thank you. Again, one other question. Do you have any idea as to the size of the lake?
Well, that's a good question. I don't have, I don't have any particular dimensions. This is just kind of a rule of thumb, but I believe it's about a mile walk all the way around the perimeter. Something in that.
That's nice. And then I know that in one of the earlier renderings you showed, the pool being one of the forever pools. I think that's just going to be fantastic, the way you're aligning the amenities to the length of the lake. I think that's going to be real nice. I would ask if at all possible, when this whole thing is said and done, I would be curious as to your statistics for buyers and distance. I think you're going to see a fair amount of buyers coming from the local community. And if you track those statistics, I would be interested in that when it's all said and done, because I think you're going to see a fair amount of upgrades.
Yeah, we do track those statistics internally when we get going on sales. Historically, for active adult communities, what we have typically seen is that 70 to 80% of the residents are generally moving to the area. Particularly in the last decade, what we have seen, and in particular in Charlotte, you have seen a large influx of new companies establishing new jobs, and many of the young, the young college students that are graduating, that are taking on some of these jobs, tend to attract their family. Their parents may be, as they get married, as they have kids, the parents tend to follow. And so our communities have seen a large influx of pre-retirees and retirees that are moving to the area because their children happen to live in Huntersville, or on the south side of town. They might live in Ballantyne or in Fort Mill or Rock Hill, and they have been choosing to come to our community. So we expect that trend will continue. And then also, our hope is that there's opportunity for some of the residents currently in the area to really look at this as another opportunity.
Hey, Jamie, this is Renee Johnson. How are you?
Hi, Renee.
Hi, I'm the city council rep for the district, and I would love to meet offline and discuss the development. This development predates me, or predates my term. So I'd love to meet and learn more about it.
Sure, we'll follow up afterwards, and maybe we can set up a time to get together. There's certainly a lot of history, and I can give you some of it because much of it predates me as well. Although I have been in Charlotte since 2004, so I am very familiar with a lot of the development evolution since my time in Charlotte. But certainly would love to meet.
Well, when you say the population in this area, I actually moved here from Ohio 6 years ago because my adult daughter lived in South Charlotte. So you're absolutely right. And I've seen this development, so I'd love to hear more about it. Thank you.
Great. Well, we'll follow up and we'll set some time up.
One more question from Marion. You said there will be no age restrictions. Do you envision any other deed restrictions, such as for rentals?
We don't typically prohibit rentals when we sell our single family. Mike, do we have any restrictions at Regency as an example?
Regency does not have any deed restrictions, certainly as it pertains to age. However, to Jamie's earlier point, the CC&Rs of the community, the layout of the community, the amenities, it attracts a certain demographic naturally. So we haven't had to rely on specific restrictions, and you have to be careful when you're talking about age restrictions. There's certain regulations, as we can all imagine. So no, there won't be any other deed restrictions, but it will be very similar to a Regency product where the likelihood of someone with small children wanting to settle there probably it wouldn't be as attractive to them as it would be a more traditional community.
we have not, we as a business have not looked at this project as a rental community. Our core business is to sell to owner occupants, occasionally, as in any community, circumstances change and people move and they choose to keep their house and rent it. And we just don't generally see a lot of that at the price point that that we serve. And I didn't talk about price point here, but yeah, like I said on the townhomes earlier, we're probably starting in the high 200s to low 300s there by the time we open. On the single family side, we will start in the 300s. And I would expect that some of our upper end homes there will probably be into the mid to high 500s as well. So pretty broad spectrum of price points within this community that we hope will provide more upward momentum to the surrounding area as well.
That sounds good. I know that Teresa wants to do a little presentation on the community plan that we've been talking about. So I would like to, first of all, apologize for joining late. Technical issues once again have bitten me in the backside. But Michael and Jamie, I want to thank you very much for making us your first presentation. And thank you very much for your time today. Thank you. You're welcome to stay on. But if Teresa, you want to go ahead and do your presentation on the community plan, that'd be great.
All right. Thank you. Thanks, guys, very much.
Great. Thank you.
Good presentation, and we'll look forward to seeing more and hearing more.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Have you stopped sharing? Okay,
There we go. Sorry.
That's okay. All right. Eleanor is still here. So yeah, the Sugar Creek, oh, I'm trying to find where my stuff is. Sorry, you're probably looking at my Zoom screen now as I try to figure out where is my thing. Okay, well, that'll work. I don't know where my presentation slides are. Apparently not open, or I don't know. Anyway, they're not crucial. The Sugar Creek Playbook process, quick update, we had the second public meeting on June 24th, and I am waiting, hoping that they've got a YouTube link for me by the time I send these slides out. So if anybody wants to catch up, they had a good presentation from the economic development consultant on basically a baseline for the area, kind of what they observed in terms of all sorts of statistics about the commercial space, the residential, and even projections of what they see in the future. So pretty interesting stuff. And then as a group, we continued to answer questions about, the Sugar Creek corridor in as it goes through 4 main areas, and everybody was on the call. So the Derita downtown is one area. The next area is kind of around North Graham and Sugar Creek, and then 85 and Sugar Creek, and then Hidden Valley and Farm Crest on both sides of Sugar Creek, just towards North Tryon. And Eleanor is here from Blue Tide, which is another consultant, and I'll let you talk about that, Eleanor, and then we can open the discussion as you let us know what it is you want to hear from us.
Great. So my name is Eleanor Schell. I am a contractor with the city under Blue Tide. And I'll say though that this work is really my passion and my stick. I moved to Charlotte in 2012 and fell in love with Charlotte, but did not understand how a city that was thriving and growing didn't have north, south, east, and west all equally developed and equally as wonderful. It's still something that blows my mind. And I met actually with Vi Lyles in 2013. I was in charge of a program with the Junior League called the Public Policy Institute, and she'd been one of our speakers prior to serving in an elected capacity. And I asked her, I was like, how can we make Charlotte better and make it where people want to live in all four corridors? And she's like, well, that's up to you to decide how to do that. At the time, I didn't think I'd live in Charlotte forever, but then I fell in love with a Charlottean, and I'm here for life. And so I want to make Charlotte as great as it can be, and love discovering new areas. And Derita is actually an area that I had never heard of and never been to. And now I'm telling my husband, I think we need to move to Derita. And as a native Charlottean, he's like, what? Where you're crazy. But anyway, I'm going to work on him. So I'm really excited to be working with the city and really making sure that community members are having a voice and being active in this process. My husband and I actually moved to the Villa Heights area of Charlotte about 5 years ago, and have seen it just been taken over. We bought an existing house, and it was important to us to buy an existing house and to keep an existing house. And of course, we're in the minority in Charlotte, and we've watched house after house after house get torn down in big buildings. And our neighbors who've lived here for generations are just saddened because they're losing their neighborhood. And I want to help make sure that doesn't happen in other areas. So it's really, really important that we have as much input and feedback from neighbors. Specifically, demographics that are missing are our homebound population. Obviously, with COVID and stuff, it's harder to get out and connect with people. Our population that doesn't have access to technology, and then our families. This has been an extreme, I can say as a mom of 2 kids under 4, it's an extremely hard time for families to connect and take anything else on. But now as things are opening back up, hopefully we can get out and really connect in the neighborhoods and get feedback on the playbook. So what we're looking at from community members and leadership in the communities is letting us know when there are going to be things going on in the community, letting us know opportunities to connect with people. If you know of people if you know of service providers who are going to interact with elderly population anyway in your community, or of activities that are happening in your neighborhood that are going to attract families, or have people on their front yards, that sort of thing, we are willing to come out and connect with people. And if you can also spread the word with your neighbors, so that they don't think we're just somebody else coming to get information, that we really are here because we're passionate and we care about this process and we want their opinions. So that's a whole lot, I know, but I guess the key takeaways is make sure people know we're coming, help us know when and where to come, and make sure you've provided feedback if you haven't yet.
Eleanor, do you know if the survey, the survey that, I don't think it's active anymore, and I'm sure it might be helpful. I know it's online, so maybe it's still kind of the usual suspects that would go for that, be filling that out. I know what you're working on right now is more of the in-person engagement.
Sorry, I knew this would happen every time it's time for me to talk, and they're here. I believe the survey is still active. They've made some updates to it. And I can send that link to you, Teresa, because they just sent it to me after our last meeting. They made some updates to it after our last meeting. And
Okay,
actually,
good.
yeah. And what we will be coming out, like I'm actually going to an event on Sunday with Heal Charlotte. And I'm gonna have iPads that people can fill out the surveys on.
Oh, brilliant.
No moving. Go downstairs now and no moving.
I would like to know how you do that, because I would be willing to sit at Maria's and, let people fill out the survey as they're coming through there. And
That would-
provide a dairy bar, somebody could take that. If you need volunteers to help do that.
That is actually the next phase. Once we kind of get in the communities, we'll be doing that, and we'll have access to a kind of a batch of iPads. I'm doing it this weekend kind of as a beta test. But once we make sure that they're working and that, we don't want to send people out with things that may have technical issues. So yeah, that's going to be the next phase is looking for volunteers to kind of help bring about community engagement.
Yeah, because a lot of the stores, it would be helpful to be outside the different stores in all along the corridor.
Yeah.
Okay, I had something that I forgot to mention, and Sylvia, since you're on the call, we have a meeting in Allen Hills on the first Tuesday in August. And wondering if we advertise that more widely, and maybe I could bring ice cream, since it is a national night out kind of night. Maybe we would get a few more people than usual, but definitely a lot of seniors. You could certainly get a lot of senior input who may not be doing surveys online, etc. So that's one thing to put on the calendar.
Yeah, the national night, that's what is it, first Thursday or
First
Tuesday?
Tuesday.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's August. And we're not planning a national night out event for that night with our meeting, but it's not too late to get the word out, at least electronically, to try to get more people there for more of a social thing. What do you think, Sylvia? You're muted though. Let me see. Can you see how to unmute yourself?
Got
There
it.
you go.
Looking into what our money status is, as soon as I can get things together, I was thinking about getting with the group and trying to get a national night out. This year, we haven't done one in the past, but we need to get more people in the community active, and I think that would be a good way to do it. So
yeah, and I'm willing to help with that. In 2019, we did the ice cream social, which I'm certainly willing to do that again. And
like I said, we need to get our treasurer back in town so that we can look at our financial, because since we don't have dues hours, the donations are all volunteer, so it varies. We've got to look at our obligations. We need to sit down and look, the board does look at that, and then we'll decide, how much.
okay, well, we can take it offline, but
You
that
got it.
seems, Eleanor, definitely something that would be worth attending and getting just some especially input from the seniors, because that is mainly the demographic that usually comes to the meeting, and we'll try to broaden that and see if we can get some of our younger folk and families out as well with ice cream.
That'd be great. And we may have some grant money too to help neighborhoods do something for National Night Out.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's good to know. Yeah. All right. So yeah, we'll work on that. And I'm certainly willing to sponsor some of that myself. So, and I'm sure I don't think it'll be hard to come up with with the money to do just simple ice creams.
Yeah.
All right, anybody else in your community know of any festivals or gatherings or good places that Eleanor and her team could think about targeting to get input in person from the community?
I put my email in the chat if anyone has anything. Or if anyone's interested in volunteering, you can shoot me an email or let Teresa know, and she knows how to get in touch with me. Because I also think that having some community members volunteering to help get surveys are going to help as well, because I'm an outsider and I know I'm an outsider. But having known community members always is helpful in getting true information with integrity.
Eleanor, have you tried working with any of our retailers? As we discussed at that meeting, we only have a few that people very much frequent. Have you talked to Food Lion or Compare Foods if you're able to maybe set something up there? Because that's a lot of traffic, and a lot of those people live and work in the corridor.
Yeah, we are planning to. I mean, we have literally been under contract for less than a week and a half now. So, so yeah, we're at the very beginning phases. I just didn't want to miss this opportunity to meet with you guys. So, yeah, you can expect to see us. We will be at we'll be at the grocery stores, Maria's, the dairy bar, and places all up and down, houses of worship, those sort of things.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Sorry, and
I was just going to say, I hope you guys will see this as an exciting opportunity. If you look at what the city with grants and stuff has done in the historic West End and the Five Points community, this can really be impactful. I want it to be an impact that you guys are happy with. So this is an opportunity to start getting them involved on the ground level.
Yeah, I agree. So I'm excited to hear more from people that are in the corridor all the time. Some of the staff too, that work in those places. May have some good input.
Definitely.
One more question. I'm so sorry. Are y'all allowed, or is there an integrated policy to actually, since we discussed that so many people, or not so many people, but significantly more people don't have access to cars, do y'all post up at bus stops, the more popular bus stops? So I know that's tricky, and I know why that's tricky, but and just thinking about how Katz is constantly wanting information, and now you all are wanting information, becomes very hard to talk to people when you're only going to places that most people get by car or who use a car. So I just didn't know if you had any perspective on that.
We are working on that. It is tricky. So, so we're looking, there may be ways to set up something near a bus stop. So, but we have to be careful at bus stops. Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for your time. I look forward to getting to know more of you guys and to spending time in your community.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, let us know when you're in the area, and
we will.
And
look for more for us in the next week and a half or so. Like, we'll be sending out some, kind of communications of where we plan to be and when, and that sort of thing.
Okay.
Okay, great. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Thank you, Eleanor.
Bye.
All right, guys, I don't really have anything else. And I don't know where my presentation is. Oh, I hate this. Okay, I think that's all, unless anybody else has anything to add for the good of the cause. And the next meeting will be August 5th, I believe.
Teresa, I had one more thing I
yeah.
wanted to ask. So in that corridor meeting, I met Tracy Campbell, who is the Senior Health Manager for Violent Prevention in Mecklenburg County. And she invited our small group at the time to be part of a focus group. They're trying to develop a plan, a comprehensive plan just for violent prevention. This is the county, not the city. And again, she's a senior health manager, so they're doing it through that lens, it sounds like. But she just asked me if I knew of anyone else who was interested in being part of the focus group. I think she is trying to get focus groups of different communities across the county. So if anyone is interested in being a part of that, and talking with her, this would be in the evening sometime. She doesn't expect it would take longer than 90 minutes. And again, this is just a focus group to get direct feedback. There won't be necessarily sharing of information on her side. So if anyone's interested in participating in that, please let me know. And I'll be glad to connect you with her, and we can get the focus group together.
Awesome, thank you. I don't know if Carrie is still on the call, but I have in mind that people like Carrie who have a lot to do with the parks in the area, it seems to me that that's a good place to start with interventions, because you know
Yeah, it seems more aimed at prevention and a long-term prevention strategy. So I think if I'm reading this correctly, so she wants to hear basically the types of questions, our experience with violence, if we want to talk about that, identifying gaps in services, and just our general feeling of things in the area. So to try to help them with their plan. So it is open to anyone who would like to share that, or if you guys know of anybody who has mentioned that and you think would like to, please let me know. I guess you can let Teresa know, she can let me know, but either way, and I'll happily connect you with that group.
Okay, do you know when that's?
She hasn't scheduled this one yet
Okay.
for our area because she's trying to gather more people for it. And so she just
Okay.
asked if I knew of anyone else who would be interested. So I thought I'd just let you guys know. So if you did want to participate, it'll be virtual just so more people can attend. Like I said, in the evening, shouldn't be more than 90 minutes.
Okay, awesome, thank you. That's all right. Anybody else got anything to add? Any update? I have one just quickly. I am going to go and take a little walk around the building across from the post office, which is, I think the official name is the Hunter Store, as it's called in the Derita history book. But it's the one we used to just call it the Western Building, but now the wooden facade has been removed. It's being renovated, and so I am popping over there, hopefully today, to just get an understanding of what they're doing and what their plans are. And I hope to have all that to share. I think that was all. I know I'm still working on a grocery store in downtown Derita, and thinking of doing a survey or a petition even to try to see what bubbles up to the top. We all know I'm an oldie fan, Marion. But and that does seem to come up really from a lot of people without me prompting it. But there may be others that I'm not thinking of. And I know the broker, they are pursuing Compare Foods. So that would also be a great option if they're interested. I don't understand why Save a Lot basically failed. They just never really had what the community was looking for, I suppose. I don't know. I never went in there, so I might be part of the problem.
I think we need to, somebody, if you can ever sit down with the people who actually own and manage there, that I try to go to that CVS. That place is just horrible to park and try to do business at regularly. For most of us, it's actually easier to walk there if you can, but then it's not super safe to walk. So until they are willing to make improvements there, it's going to be harder to get the kind of retailer we want, because people are going to go else. I mean, that's just my opinion. That parking lot has been horrible my car's been hit in that parking lot while it's been parked. And so things like that, it's just not a great experience.
Yeah. Well,
for
I
most
think that's
customers.
good feedback for them. So maybe write something up, because I, you know, I don't know. I thought maybe it was the ATM that kind of attracts some loitering and some opportunistic crime type stuff, but I'm not sure.
Well, it should have been a drive-up ATM to begin with, clearly based on how people use it. And really that should be maybe on whoever actually manages the ATM to
Yeah.
build that infrastructure up too, because I will say that that's the busiest ATM I've ever seen. So, there's just vastly need of improvement in the whole space to make it more friendly to both the drivers and pedestrians. It's just not great, in my opinion.
Oh, you're just reminding me that there was another piece of good news that I heard, and it's sort of more of a rumor at this time, but the owner of the Maria's shopping center is also planning some renovations, some parking lot improvements, and some facelifts and stuff. I don't know the extent, and I'm not sure, if they'll really tell us what they're planning, but I believe they are planning that. I don't know if it's with a view to selling, because Mr. Sorrells is certainly getting up in age, but that is good news too. So I think, once those kind of things start happening, it's the opposite of a broken window effect. People start to see that it's worth making investments and improvements.
The crime around that area up there is what is part of the driving force. I've talked to a couple companies that have pulled out. I talked to CVS and I talked to some of the others, and it's, as Miriam said, it's just not a safe place. And they're feeling that more and more. And until somebody updates it and somebody gets some, tried talking to the police at University, because that is in University's area, and they, like everybody else, is stretched thin, and with all the bad stuff being said about police, they have to be very studious in how they handle some of those situations to keep from backlash for so much. So, we just don't have the police coverage there, and being on the edge is not the most important with everything going on around at University and the apartments over there. So until we can get a little more support from all of that, then I don't see us really, unless the owner wants to really clean it up and get something nice in there that people will visit and stand up to. I see a long term here. I hope not, but I've been out there a long time. It's getting worse instead of better.
Yeah, it's a cycle for sure that can go either way at this point, but hopefully I'm optimistic. But yeah, CMPD, I wish that they could integrate, because really it's at the edge of, this whole section is at the edge of North and the edge of University. So I'm not sure it gets the attention that it really deserves as a downtown. I think that's everything that I have. And if we don't have anything else, or anybody got anything to add? Nope. All right. Thanks, guys. I guess I've got to stop share. Oh, this is where I have to talk to myself. Hang on a second. There's a bunch of stuff in chat. Okay. Yeah, I agree on Aldi. Oh, Eleanor mentioned we. Who is we? We is her company, Blue Tide. I forget the full name, but they are a group of 3 women that specialize in engaging, basically figuring out creative ways to get input from the community to help the city in this playbook process. And Dawn is looking for a little Shih Tzu that went missing from Tanglewood. Oh, I'm sorry. We'll keep an eye, but you know, there's lots and lots of woods over there. If the little puppy got along the creek, they could easily get into Ribbon Walk, etc. So hopefully that doggy comes home.
Yes, thank you.
I'm sorry. Oh, that's so worrying. But yeah, if you need help walking in the creek, if you think that puppy may have gotten into the creek, because that's often what happens. They run into the woods where they, and then then they can really go upstream or downstream, not in the water, but you know what I mean.
Yes, thank you so much, Teresa, for even bringing that out. After I sent that, I kind of felt weird about it since we talk so much business and community, but that's been on my mind, heavy on my mind. So I had to thank you for bringing that out.
Okay, no worries. All right, folks, I think that's everything Jack has left. Thanks again, and we'll see you in a month.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Teresa.
Thank you.
Thank you.